All right, y'all, what's going on? It's Combo Breaker 99 back with another video. All right, y'all, I got a little free time here to just do a quick little discussion. Don't have no time to do a live tonight, but I just wanted to talk a little bit more about Zhang Weili and what this win last night means for her legacy. Shout out to Zhang Weili. You know, she put another notch on her belt against a very solid opponent here. I know, again, people are going to say two things. They're going to say, you know, Tatiana Suarez wasn't that good of a fighter, or they'll say, oh, she's one-dimensional, wasn't ready, or some people going to say, oh, you know, the inactivity played a factor. Yes, the inactivity did play a factor, but Tatiana Suarez, when it came down to it, she knew what she was up against. She took the opportunity, and like I said, I respected that. So she knew what she had to do. This was the biggest opportunity of her life. She had to put it all on the line. She had to go for broke, and that's what she tried to do in there. She just didn't have the weapons for it, right, when it came down to it. So no excuses there. So, yeah, going back to what I was saying, though, about Zhang Weili, you know, getting this victory, it means, I think this one means a lot for her legacy. You know, it definitely puts her down as possibly the best strawweight, probably the best strawweight of all time, you know, just because of all the victories, you know, she's been able to get and stay consistent, and how she's beat different fighters. You know, she showed so many different levels. I mean, in some ways, you know, people are going to always go back and talk about the Rose Namajunas fights, which they do stand for something. But in the end, they kind of forced her to get uncomfortable in there, and they forced her to be humiliated and be humble, you know, and she's reacted in a positive way off of that. You know, that's why I respect Zhang Weili, because she's always been a student of the game. And I definitely got to put this one on as a high, you know, notch on her belt as far as what she was able to do in there, because again, going into this fight, you know, I thought Tatiana Suarez had the better wrestling here, and she was a big favorite too. So in a way, you've seen Zhang Weili really come in here and execute so many different things, you know, not just the mental pressure, but make adjustments and switch up styles, and all in one single fight. And I know some people are going to say, oh, you know, well, Suarez didn't offer much, but that's the thing. You know, that's the thing. Like, Suarez offered a lot in what she does, but the way Zhang Weili did it is what made it a classic fight and such a, you know, a big, memorable win for Zhang Weili, you know. So that's why I say this too, man. This is why I really wanted to talk about is, you know, some people, you know, they continue to kind of bash Suarez in this one. Don't downplay Suarez. Like, you can't, because when you downplay Suarez, you're downplaying your fighter. You know, if you were going for Zhang Weili and you say, okay, Tatiana Suarez was nothing, well, you're basically saying that you're basically saying that Zhang Weili is fighting nobodies, and she's not. She's not. Like, Zhang Weili had to get up for this fight. 100% she had to get up for this fight. I mean, even before she knew that she was the favorite, she knew she had to do her homework in this fight, and she did. She looked better than her last fight, and she looked better than she did in any other fights. Maybe the Amanda Lemos is still one of her most memorable victories as far as just like brutal beatings, but this one ranks up there too. You know, this one ranks up there too, because she knew that I'm going in there with one of the most dangerous wrestlers, so I got to go in there and adapt. I got to do what she does, but I got to do it better, you know. So Tatiana Suarez was no slouch. People continue to say, oh, this girl's a slouch. No, she was 10-0 or 11-0 for a reason, you know, even though she hadn't got a chance to fight a lot of great fighters in between. You know, she earned that 11-0, and you know, Zhang Weili had to get better to win this fight. Like, Zhang Weili couldn't have been the Zhang Weili she was that fought Rose, or even the one that fought a couple of fighters back like that. Maybe she could have been the one that fought Lemos and even Yan Zhanan, but you see, like, the improvements there, like the choice making that she made there. Suarez forced her to be a better fighter, right? So when people say like Tatiana Suarez one-dimensional, okay, we can say that because that's her main thing. You know, she's a wrestler. She's a powerful wrestler. You know, she can cut the octagon off. You know, she can get to you. She can maul you, and she can you know, she can cage wrestle you. She can beat you up too, right? She can out-strength you. But you know, Weili said, okay, I got to have all that ground covered. So again, it really forced Weili to do her homework, because she knew she was in there with a good opponent. So when people say, oh, you know, Suarez is a bad fighter, I'm like, nah, you can't say that, because, you know, Zhang Weili had to do her homework. She couldn't have been less than, you know, a B in there. You know, just let's be real, or less than an A minus to do what she did against somebody like Suarez. Zhang Weili is a student of the game, and if you ask her, she ain't gonna say, "Oh yeah, Tatiana Suarez is a bad fighter. That's why I beat her." Most like y'all, like that's what I'm saying. Like some of y'all that are hardcore fans, like y'all don't give Zhang Weili the respect that she deserves the way you should sometimes. Y'all just in love with her, or simp over her. But you got to understand, like they're doing, they're in there going hard. She's in there evolving. Why? Because the opponent standing across from them wants to take that belt. That opponent across from them wants to take her head off. So they're forcing her to get better. These are good fighters that she's fighting. Her title defense reign right now is, giving Joanna's a run for his money. So if you're gonna say she's better, you gotta acknowledge the fighters that she's beaten and that are forcing her to evolve like this. Because again, we say Tatiana was the best wrestler. Well, what did Weili do? She stepped her wrestling game up. Her strength and conditioning was off the charts. Her footwork was on point. She made adjustments with her right hand. Going into the second round of the fight, she started punching down with it, landing right on the chin of Suarez. All these little changes had to be made because you see in the first round when she swung up, she got time to take it down. But then she did her homework, and then she was working, was able to get some nice scrambles. All of this had to be done, man, because if it wasn't, Suarez still could have won the fight. Suarez still would have had enough wrestling to win the fight if Zhang Weili's strength and conditioning wasn't up. So this was a landmark fight for Zhang Weili. It forced her to get better. So with what she was able to do and how she was able to do it in so many different ways, I give her full credit here, man. So in order to do that, though, you got to say she was in there with a really dangerous opponent. Now, again, yeah, I know Suarez had some time off, which I'll talk about in another video. Like maybe she did need to do what she had to do as far as fight those other fights, but y'all probably got to blame the UFC on that because Suarez already said on record that they canceled the Verna fight. She didn't cancel it. They canceled it on her. So she had to go ahead and take the opportunity, and being the tough fighter that she is, tough woman that she is, she wasn't going to turn that fight down. And I understood why at the time. She didn't know if she was going to be injured or not. So on her, she had to go in there and just get the fight done. But Zhang Weili, like I said, on the level she's on right now, you just got to give her respect. But at the same time, you got to respect these opponents too that they're fighting. Like you won't hear Zhang Weili or Valentina, or Rose Namajunas or any of these other fighters. You won't hear these champions talk about their opponents the way y'all are talking about them. Sometimes y'all saying, "Oh, I knew this person going to do this. I knew they're going to." You didn't know that because Zhang Weili might not show up the way she did. You just never know. That's why I said this fight was a 50-50 fight going into it because, Zhang Weili might not make the right choices, but she did tonight. And with the level both of these fighters have fought on in the past, it really did make it a close fight on paper. But again, with the way Suarez has been lacking in activity, it showed in this fight. And with the way Zhang Weili has been leveling up, it definitely showed on her side. So yeah, again, respect to the champion on this one. We'll talk more about, just like legacy later when I get a chance maybe to do a live or not. But yeah, man, put some respect on these fighters' names as a whole, man. Even the fighters that she's fighting. If the champ can dap it up and say this is one of the most dangerous fighters that made me step up my game, y'all better respect that too. Combo Breaker 99. I'm out. Subscribe. Peace.